from Teach Pre-K, and I have been in school for a month. And some of you have been in school longer, some of you have just started, but I just wanted to share something that I've learned throughout the years as far as classroom management goes. We know that at the beginning we are teaching procedures and we are teaching, the way to line up, the way to walk down the hall, the way to play on the playground, the way to play in centers, how to use our words instead of pushing, shoving, hitting, taking toys away, etc. But every once in a while, in the midst of all of that, which is daunting, and it takes a lot of repetition and a lot of just doing it over and over and over again and reminding them, don't get up yet. I haven't called your name to go line up. Things like that. You might have one or two children, and maybe some of you have more than one or two. I think I've been super lucky. I only had 1 year that I had more than one or two with some behavior issues. But you might have somebody in your class that has some pretty severe behavior issues. And it's not really apparent the first week. Maybe you'll see some glimpses of it because your first week is kind of your honeymoon period where the kids are trying to be on their best behavior. You're trying to be the best teacher. They're trying to be the best students. It's just kind of the way it goes. It's how everybody is when they first meet someone, right? We want to show them our best. But as the children become more comfortable, they will start to test you. So those of you who've been in over 2 weeks, you're probably seeing a little bit of that, and you're going to see a little bit more as time goes on. I'll be starting my 5th week. So I just finished my 4th week, and I'm still, and I will be getting moments that require some extra attention every year, but I can tell that there's 1 or 2 kids that are testing me. They want to see how I react, what I will allow them to do or not do, and if I mean what I say. So that's me following through with, okay, I'll give you 2 warnings, and then you just have to take a break from the group and you can come back when you're ready. Things like that. So that's happening, but that's all normal. Every once in a while, though, you get something that is atypical. And for me, I had a student that was, doing the regular, not interested in doing what the rest of the kids were doing. And he was new to the program, so I know he's not used to our structure, and I'm not sure what he's used to. So, I'm kind of feeling him out and watching how he reacts to things and how he behaves to simple redirection and things like that. But I noticed that this particular child, darling child, was kind of quick to anger, and he knocked some chairs over one day, and then a couple days later he threw a chair, a big wooden chair. He didn't throw it at anybody, and we were able to catch it before it crashed into anything and did any damage. But that is kind of atypical behavior for my school. So I have learned, instead of being super teacher and taking this on and doing a bunch of research and figuring out how I'm going to help this kid, and I'm good at classroom management, so I've got this. I did something that years and years ago when I had a similar problem I should have done. I am learning from my mistakes, and I want you guys to learn from my mistakes. The first thing I did was I let my director know. I had a meeting with my aides and let them know how I wanted us to proceed going further. One of us is going to have to keep the class going as if nothing else is happening. so that our whole class does not fall apart. Because I've seen that happen, I've had that happen, and things can get out of control, and it starts to make the other kids feel like the teacher is not in control and that they are not safe with the teacher. So it can have long-ranging effects when you don't maintain control of the kids that aren't losing control, and you have somebody helping deal with the child that is out of control. And I've been with my main aide for a long time, and we had kind of a fill-in aide that week. We were really lucky. And I know her, so I know she's been a teacher. She was a middle school teacher, so she's dealt with some behaviors. So our plan was, I keep teaching the class as normal. You guys are the ones doing the redirection and the keeping him safe and letting him know that things are okay and we're not mad. We just have to, that's not what we do, things like that. So I got those two things in place. My admin knew about his behavior. She knew his name, the name of his mom, the behaviors I was seeing, and she knew that I had a plan with my aides and knew my next thing was to talk to the mom. And I called his mom on the phone. I feel like when it's something like this, I don't want to do it in an email. If I sent an email, I'd say, hey, could you please call me? I want to talk to you about your child. I am available, and I'd give a window of time. And then I would make sure I had my phone turned on and that I was really available. If not, leave a time that works for you, right? But I am like, okay, I'm just going to call her. I'm going to call her. We're going to have a chat. I did know one thing about this child. I knew his father had passed, and my father has passed, and I've had another child whose father also died in my class a couple of years ago, and we really bonded over the fact that he lost his father, I lost my father, and yeah, I was 51 years old when I lost my father. I wasn't 2, I wasn't 3. But losing someone you love is traumatic and it hurts. So I just was like, okay, I can handle this. I can relate to this child, and worked out beautifully with the last child that I had who lost a parent. But I called this mom. I know I always make a long story longer. Sorry, guys. So I called this mom, and we had a nice talk, and I learned that this particular child had been through some trauma. Just his trauma around his dad's death, trauma around a move, trauma around a building catching fire next to the building they were living in and having to be evacuated in the middle of the night. I found out that mom had him in therapy and some grief counseling, and getting into some occupational therapy. And this child also has, of course, anxiety from the trauma, but I could see that there might have been some maybe trauma-induced kind of ADHD behavior, or maybe just ADHD behavior. It's common that we start seeing that, especially in kids that are 4 to 5. You can kind of start picking up on little things that they do. So we talked about all of it, and I told her, I said, what would be great is if you or your therapist has ways that they want these things handled and language that you want used. I want to know what it is. I'm like, so take some time, put this in an email for me, tell me some things I might see and how he best responds to, XYZ. Give me some different ways to respond to behaviors so that I'm using the same language that you're using and that the therapist wants you to use and that he's going to understand. And, it was really, really helpful. And I approached her in a way that was not, hey, your kid's throwing chairs in my classroom. It was like, hey, I'm seeing some behavior that's not typical. And I wonder if you see it at home and how you handle things when they come up, because I want to do it the way you do it so we are on the same page. And so it was more of entering into a collaboration with this parent than, kind of like, hey, we need to fix this problem. It was okay, how can we work to help your child kind of thing. Because I just knew that what I was seeing just wasn't typical for most of the kids that I see. You might teach in a program where that is typical, and I hope not, because that breaks my heart for children. And I wouldn't be teaching what I'm teaching if I didn't absolutely love children. But so I finally, like 2 or 3 days later, I got the email from her with a lot of really helpful tips and what works and what doesn't work with him. And it was great. But in the meantime, I had to wait a couple of days for that. So I thought, okay, what do I know about kids that have been through trauma? They have a lot of times trust issues. They really need to know that you're going to react the same every time. They really need to know that they can throw a chair and that you will tell them that, hey, that's not okay behavior, but I sure love you and I want to help you. They want to know that you're going to love them even when they make a mistake. Children that have been through trauma like this child had been through, my thought was the only thing this child really needs is just a lot of love and patience, and of course consistency, but mostly a lot of love from me, a lot of patience. So talked with the aides again. We put that in place. We're like, okay, he's going to get a lot of love and a lot of patience, but his mom did say that sometimes you just need to be firm and just spell it out plain, like, you know what, that's not how we behave, and I will give you to 3 to get to the rug. And you know what, I had to do that once with him, and it worked really well. But so about 2 more weeks into it, I'm actually going to email his mom today and let her know how we're doing. But I feel like this child has just slowly, just as he's learned to trust us, he's getting better and better and better. He shows some signs of just oppositional defiance. We're coming in from the playground and we're having a snack and he's like, I don't want to do this. And he starts throwing things and we're like, hey, it's not okay to throw those things. But your snack is over here. Let's go sit and have our snack. It's just snack time. And he's like, oh, I'm fine. But he's ready to fight. First thing. He's ready to throw things. He's ready. He's got that anger is right there. So he is slowly learning that we aren't going to get angry with him. We are going to stay calm. We are going to treat him with respect if he treats us with respect. If he doesn't do something that I want him to do, I say, I mean it, sit down, and he will. He has, let's say last week, he started when the day was over just needing to give me a hug, and he looks at me like his heart's gonna break when it's time to go, and he's just like, oh, and he comes and gives me a hug, and he raised his hand, which was a miracle, and was staying on the rug. Like, he's been staying on the rug more. He's been raising his hand when he wants to say things. He's been giving us hugs, but he raised his hand and he just said, Mrs. Lee, you are the best teacher ever. And I was like, thank you, Jack. You're just the best student ever. Thank you. That makes me feel so happy. You just made me happy today. And it's genuine. He really did make me feel happy. I know that at the beginning, I was almost seen as the enemy in a way. and he needed to make sure that he could trust me. Do I think things are going to be smooth sailing after week 4? No. But I will say last week there were no chairs being knocked down. There was no toys or anything being thrown in anger. And the week prior, there was just one chair that was knocked over in anger. So we're getting there. Things are slowly getting better. So my simple advice, I told you this long story, but the simple advice is let your director or admin know immediately if you are running into a behavior problem with a child. Big or small. Just say, hey, I just want to put this on your radar. Write them an email so there's written record. This is the behavior that I'm seeing. This is my plan going forward. I'm going to talk to mom on the phone. My admin was great. My principal's wonderful. And she just said, do you want to include me? Do we need to have a meeting? And I like to try to handle things with just me and the parent, because I feel like it forges a better relationship with the parent than to, hi, we're with the principal, first thing. Let's forge a relationship and try to work together on this. And I even told the mom that, hey, if this escalates or gets worse, we probably will have to have a meeting with our principal and see where we want to go from here, some other things we might want to try. And the mom understood that completely. I said, but let's do these things first, because you always want to see if you can make things work, right? Not on your own. Get help from the parent, get help from your aides, let your admin know what's going on. Then you can have the big meeting if you have to. And don't be afraid when you're dealing with a behavior issue to say, I don't know how to handle this. I might need some coaching or some help. Do you know anyone in the school or community that could come in once or twice and give me some strategies to deal with this? Because the worst thing for a teacher, I think, is at the end of the day to feel completely defeated, especially if you're a teacher that just really wants to have fun with the kids, be just the best teacher, and not just the fun teacher all the time, but the teacher where the kids know your boundaries and everybody begins to function within those boundaries, and then you have a magical classroom. But sometimes some behaviors are too hard for you to reach that goal, and you need help. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Ask for help, ask for help, ask for help. Let people know what's going on in your classroom. The worst thing you could do is try to handle it yourself for months and then bring your admin in and say, I have been working on this for months and I can't take it anymore, and just break down. I've done that. Been there, me. And my principal at the time was my super tough principal that used to be in my classroom every single day. And that's why I don't care who observes me ever, because she was the scariest person on earth. And I never knew when she was going to show up. So it was always ready. But she said, why didn't you come to me sooner? I would have helped you. I can help you now. But now you've got the rest of the class getting out of control because this guy has taken everyone's attention. And so my job was so much harder at that point. And, you might be at that point right now, but it doesn't mean don't do it. Do it. But if you can head that off at the pass and get help first, get help first. I want everybody who watches my videos and shows up to have a really good year. And like I said earlier, the kids need to know your boundaries. Your boundaries need to be crystal clear, guys. Crystal clear. As in any relationship in your life, your relationship with your kids, with your spouse, with your parents, with your siblings, with your friends, you have to have boundaries. You are nobody's doormat. all your boundaries need to be known, okay? So make sure that's part of taking care of yourself as a teacher. But I think I totally just lost my video. You guys, I never know what's going on. My screen just goes blank. But I've been doing this for about 20 minutes, so I'm going to stop right now. Leave some comments. Let me know some of your strategies. Let me know if you need help with anything. I might have some strategies I've used in the past that work. But hopefully this has been helpful. Thanks.